part of my morning routine. I've talked about this before. I do some light therapy, some meditation, some positive intelligence work, and then some more meditation and some prayer. And so yesterday, the positive intelligence thing was called Make Someone Happy. And as soon as I started listening to it, I think I've heard them all before now because I've been doing this for several years and the content is just recycled. But it's surprising me every day, the theme that's coming up. So I couldn't remember what the Make Someone Happy was about, but right at the beginning, Shirzad Chamine, who's the founder of Positive Intelligence, says, because of mirror neurons in the brain, if we are in a sage mode like joy or curiosity or peace, the person interacting with us will gradually shift to the same mode, which then in turn will fuel our own sage, creating a virtuous cycle. If you look into a happy face and genuinely connect with that person, you will feel happier. And so this right away reminded me, because genuine was the word that stood out for me, it reminded me of a mom and a baby. You know, and the just sheer joy and delight on the face and the being of a little baby when it connects with its mother. And when you play peekaboo and the baby thinks the mother is gone, you know, the anxiety that comes up right away because, oh my gosh, that person has just disappeared from their life. And then you open your eyes again, and then the giggles and the squeals of delight and that genuine connection that is there, right? And so it's the mother like showering love upon this tiny little being, and the little being receiving this love, but at the same time reflecting the love that is being poured onto it, onto it, and then further activating and amplifying the love that both the mother and baby are, right? It also reminded me of my cat, our cat Mercury, because apparently cats are very similar. They become a lot more attached to people than dogs do, even though sometimes they can seem quite aloof, and to the point where they can imprint on people and think that people are their parents. And so we've known for a while since Mercury came into our life that Mercury believes that I'm her mom. Glenn is her dad for sure, but like I am her mom and I am her preferred person. And when we leave, she thinks we're gone forever. You know, and then we come back and she's meowing and telling us things. And I don't know if it's like, who do you think you are or whatever, or I'm so glad that you're back. But they want to be near us. They want to be with us. And even if you've had a cat who wasn't allowed, you know, to be touched, there's still that connection that you have with the furry little beastie, with this being that essentially is love, right? In action. So the sage thing, for those people who don't remember, in positive intelligence, there's the sage and there's the saboteur. And the sage is being in alignment with who and what we are. It is the God, it is the light, it is the love, it is the divinity of our being, okay? That's being in sage mode. And when we're in sage mode, we are using this part of our brain right here, which allows us to be focused, clear-minded, and in the present moment. When we are in saboteur mode, where all of the anxiety and the overwhelm and the fear and the anger and the negative emotions come in, we are literally in a different part of the brain, the limbic part of the brain that is older, and there's no way to be, at least now, with the consciousness that people are at, to be in the same place in those two parts of the brain at the same time. So you're either here or you're here. You're either present or you're in anxiety and overwhelm. You're either in your sage mode or you're in saboteur mode. You're either totally anchored in and as the love that you truly are, or you're creating your life experience from all of the stuff that's going on around you and getting wrapped up in everything else except for who and what you truly are. And so the whole point of these little morning exercises is to get into sage mode. And so yesterday, it was about making someone happy. Because when you make someone happy, kind of like Emma Smiley, right? When you make someone happy, then that happiness amplifies, that happiness grows, that happiness spreads out into the world, and then there is more joy, there is more peace, there is more love that is freely expressing in, through, and as everyone and everything. So I found a quote today which just opened my heart, cracked it open so wide, and it's by Rumi. Love is the path and road of our prophet. We were born from love, and love was our mother. So that second part there, we were born from love, and love was our mother. And depending on who translates it, we are born, love is our mother. But the whole point there being, the thing that everyone and everything stems from is love. So the title of my talk today is Born from Love. And I came across this photo, and I just thought it was so beautiful because there's a little tiny toddler or baby's hand on the hand of maybe a grandmother or great-grandmother. So many different generations expressed there, new and old, timeless, and just this connection of this one thing that is fully present in, through, and as everyone and everything. And so it just made me feel all warm and fuzzy, and it cracked my heart wide open. But it also made me think of, well, what if you don't have a great relationship with your mom? What if you didn't have a great relationship with the person or the people who mothered you in your life? What then? And so all of us share the core qualities of our human nature, and so sometimes we are generous and sometimes selfish. Sometimes we are thoughtful and other times thoughtless. Sometimes we are kind and sometimes cruel. This is not a belief, this is a fact. This comes out of the book that we're studying right now in our forgiveness class, the Book of Forgiving by Bishop Desmond Tutu and his daughter, Reverend Mpo Tutu. And so the thing that we were talking about quite a bit yesterday was our shared humanity and how important it is to recognize that even though we talk in New Thought about we are spiritual beings having a spiritual experience, that we live in a spiritual universe governed by spiritual laws, that as this spiritual being having this spiritual experience, it's happening in this physical form. It's happening in a finite lifespan. Even though life is eternal, and our lifespan is maybe this tiny blip on this eternality, but we're still here. And we chose to show up in this form, in this life, with the people around us, curating the experiences that we're having according to what we believe, according to the stories that are important to us, according to the thoughts and ideas that are floating in our mind that are always there. And sometimes those thoughts, those ideas, those beliefs, those stories aren't always life-affirming. And so even if we didn't have the ideal relationship with the person who was our mother or the people who mothered us, because it's not just our mom, right? There are so many people in our lives throughout our lifetime, teachers, important people, friends. Lots of people have that kind of influence over us that help to shape and mold who we are. And if it's something that is in alignment with the truth of who and what we are, then that's when we get to shine. That's when we show up as authentically as we possibly can. But if it's not in alignment with who and what we truly are, when it's not in alignment with the divine circulation of love and loving, then it can be more challenging. And then it's up to us to get really, really mindful and purposeful about the kind of life experience that we want to create going forward. Because even if the relationship with our mom or the people who mothered us wasn't the relationship we would have preferred to have, there's still information, there's still experience, there is still so much knowledge and wisdom and insight in how we relate to that experience that can help us move in life differently going forward, and how we show up with our mothering energy for others in our life going forward. So when it comes to forgiveness, we talked a lot yesterday about the interconnectedness and compassion and shared humanity. And there's another quote out of this book that says, "We are all members of the same human family. This is not just a metaphor, this is a literal statement of fact. All modern humans are related to what scientists call mitochondrial Eve, our common matrilineal ancestor who happened to live in Africa. Depending on how you estimate the length of a generation, we're only 5,000 to 10,000 generations from one another." So when we think in terms of oneness, spiritually, everyone and everything is energy, everyone and everything is love, sometimes it can be a little sort of esoteric and like, ooh, okay, yeah, that's out there. But if we listen to this And what science has shown, that everybody goes back to this one mitochondrial Eve, it means we're all like distant cousins, how many generations removed from each other? We're all one. And the source of that, all of us, is love. And so we get to decide, no matter what happened in the past, no matter what our relationships were, how we move forward. And we practiced some of that yesterday with an exercise called Tell a New Story. And so there was an opportunity to go over a scenario that people had experienced and then either write the story as the hero, as the way you wish you would have showed up, you wish that you would have preferred, to sort of act in that situation, or to maybe make it up completely and go, this is how I wish it had unfolded. And the whole point of that is that when you do that, when you tell a new story, which is very much what the newsletter was about from Sherry on Friday, when you tell a new story, even if it's something that hasn't actually happened, you are creating new neural pathways so that when you come up against a situation like that in future, then you are starting to build a new pathway so that you can hop off the pathway, the groove that is super entrenched that you've been on for so long, and start to move along this path that is more life-affirming and supportive. It can also to help you have a different relationship with the experience from the past. And that's the whole point of personal responsibility in New Thought, isn't it? We get to choose, we get to decide, we get to birth a new life experience based on what it is that we're choosing. So another quote from Rumi, to love is to reach God. And when he writes that, when we say that, it's not like out there somewhere that we're reaching for something. It's to just get so clear and so wholly aligned with the truth of who and what we are, knowing that everyone and everything else is that as well. And so the love we receive from those who've mothered us further activates, reflects, and amplifies the love we are at our core. As the love we are is amplified, we are inspired to express that much more authentically, further activating, reflecting, and amplifying the love of which we are born with everyone and everything in our orb. And so what I want to leave you with is this interesting thing that I did this morning where I plugged some stuff into ChatGPT and I said, help me with this. And this is what we created together. In the words of Rumi, we are born of love, not only in body, mind, heart, and soul, but in pure essence. Love is the source, the midwife, and the unfolding. Mothering is how love takes form, nurturing, guiding, unwavering, and fierce. It is not limited to one identity and lives in all as caring, tenderness, and faith. Today, we honor all who mother and all who have been mothered, those who midwife love into action, and those who keep showing up even when it's hard. We are born of love, we live by love, we mother through love, and we embrace each now moment knowing that love is our true nature. And so it is.